We're all set.
Okay. I'm calling this meeting of the Marquette Township Board regular meeting to order. It's January 26th, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. And if you'll stand and join us with for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Clerk Rattari.
Trustee Truscott and Treasurer Johnson are absent and excused this evening. Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Trustee Pompo.
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Gerard and Civil Counsel Roger Zappa. Committee members here are, I think a lot of the rec committee is here. Mike Springer, Todd Caruth, I don't know if I see anyone else, and Dave Wiegand from Planning and Rec and Roads.
Todd.
And Todd's from Recreation, Todd Caruth. And that's it.
Okay. We have the consent agenda first, which typically includes items, make sure you can hear me. Received committee and approval of the prior meeting minutes and closed session minutes of January 5th. The received committee and other reports, including Recreation Committee agenda for January 26th and draft minutes of December 15th. The Fire Chief and Fire Marshal's report of December. The Fire Department business meeting draft minutes of January 11th, as well as the officer meeting draft minutes. The Sheriff's report from December. The Water Production report from December. Planning Commission minutes of December 9th. The Iron Ore Heritage Recreation Authority draft agenda of January 27th, and then their draft minutes of November 18th. Also, correspondence not requiring board action would be the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority correspondence regarding the increase in tipping fees, and a letter from a resident regarding the Peter White Public Library contract, and bills payable in the amount of $451,270.89. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And approval of the remainder of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the regular agenda as presented.
Dan?
Before we approve it, I'd like to add an item under unfinished business. I'd like to add the first Wednesday garbage pickup.
So 9B.
No, that'd be under new business? Or
Unfinished.
Unfinished business. First Wednesday trash pickup. Okay, would your motion include that amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
And are you still
So moved.
supporting? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, make that change. So we have to have another motion?
It's covered, I believe.
Okay, that's up to you. Okay, approval of the agenda. Board member or public comment, excuse me. This is typically, I've heard it both ways. It's typically anyone who has issues with the agenda tonight would speak under this public comment. I've had meetings both ways. So just so you know, the library, for anybody who's going to be here, is going to be on the agenda next week, next Tuesday, our 7 o'clock meeting. We had to adjust this week's meeting because some of us were in Detroit last week. So we're kind of doubling up and having another one next week. So the library discussion will be on that, and hopefully we will have a full board to do that. But if you'd like to speak because you're here on the library, that's fine, even though it's not on the agenda. So if anybody would like to address us, please come up to the podium in no particular order. Name, address, please.
Mike Springer. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Rec Committee. The Rec Committee just had a meeting at 5 p.m. tonight with the road committee, the DDA, MDOT. It was facilitated by Manager Gerard and Planner McCarthy. And the purpose was to take a look at what the proposed changes and improvements to the US 41 corridor will be planned for 2019 through 2021. So we formed a subcommittee, 2 members of the rec committee, 2 members of the road committee, 2 members of the DDA will be on this subcommittee, and will be working towards the goal of improving the US 41 corridor. So any input that people have, please direct that. I'm going to ask you to direct it to Planner McCarthy and get your suggestions, and we'll consider those. Also, the rec committee, this is the time of year we start the state grants, or the Michigan Department of Natural Resource grants that are out there, the trust fund, and also the passport grant that historically we've been applying for every year. But in light of our situation with the tax tribunal and the dark store and loss of revenue, the committee decided that this year we would not apply for any of those 2 state grants. They're big grants, and they of course require a 30% match. We do, however, hope that you will approve the passport grant or award that we've been awarded for 2015. That does not have to be completed until 2017. The same thing will be true for the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant when we have a project agreement for that. So I'm asking the board to support both of those, because those are awards that we already have and that we're committed to. The committee will continue to look for funding and other grants to help supplement what the state doesn't provide us. So we hope you'll continue to support what we already have worked on. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We may have to have that as a board discussion too in the future.
Good evening. My name is Jean Whitman Shelby. I live at 14 Northwood Lane, Marquette Township. I am a little bit confused. Randy, when I gave you the letter and we had a brief discussion, you told me that this would be an agenda item on the 26th of this month. Did not know about the change of date. Probably not required to have been notified of that, but I think it would have been polite on your part to give me a heads up that there was a bit of a change in date. So in looking at your mission statement to recognize the meet the needs of the township community, I think that the residents of Marquette Township have overwhelmingly in the past approved the 1 mil to support the library. And I'm not 100% sure of why, and I hope to learn why you terminated the contract with the library without any public notice, without any public discussion. I hope to be able to understand what that is about. What it does for me and for other people I've talked to in the township, it is sort of a violation of trust in mine and other people's feelings that you folks kind of snuck this under the radar without notifying the township people. Now, ways in which you could have done that, you send out a monthly garbage statement with all kinds of information. Would have been simple enough to do that. And then people who would have been informed of that and maybe could have given some input prior to now. So that's basically what I want to say at this time, and I think I'll be back for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Donna Marshall. I live at 19 Middle Island Point. I was simply amazed at that you terminated the contract with the library. I've consistently voted for the 1 mil, and I feel like I should have been informed before that vote was taken. Peter White Public Library has been a part of my life since I was 4 years old. I'm now 70 plus. The library has been part of our community since it was built. Its accomplishments over the years have been many. It's been honored nationally for what it has done. Lynn Hammerstrom, that's with us tonight, was a co-chair of the new building committee for the library and served on their board until she moved to the township. Many township residents have committed to that project. If you look at the wall at the library, one of our neighbors, Alan Roberts, has given generously when he is one of our higher tax township residents. For some reason, I continue to see from this board reluctance to do anything related to the city. Fact is, we need each other. The city helps brings business here, fills our hotels, educates our young, is the home of NMU, sells its clean, safe water, secure power, and many other things at reasonable rates. We are paying the same millage rates for library services as the other townships. This levy is a pass-through to the Peter White Public Library, not to the city of Marquette. If it seems like we're giving more than other townships, it means we are doing well. And if we start to nickel dime business, we look small and not appreciative of what we have accomplished together. Please reconsider your vote on this issue. I really don't want to go back to 1992 and 93. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Marshall.
I'm Jim Shelby. I reside at 14 Northwood Lanes. Wanted to briefly, I guess, give you a little bit my analysis about Peter White Library. Originally, when the addition was going to be put on, they were talking about spending $50 million. I really thought that that was a pretty excessive amount of money that was going to be spent on the addition and fairly extravagant. After seeing how the library has come together and seeing how much community activity there is in the library, how well it is effectively used and so on, I will tell you that I have absolutely changed my opinion 180 degrees. I have voted for the millage for the library, to support the library as a township resident every time. And it is a gem of our community. And Marquette Township needs to, I think, recognize and that we are all part of Marquette, even though we're a separate governmental entity. We are part of Marquette, and I firmly believe that Marquette Township needs to support the library, and I'll be here next week here, and I would like to recommend that the board maybe reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby.
My name is Elizabeth Bates, 208 Eagles Nest Road. I have a different perspective because my husband and I retired up here in 2010, not realizing what a treasure the library was. We looked at the outdoor opportunities, thank you, Rec Committee, at the medical facilities, at the university. Now that we have lived here for this amount of time, I actually can't be here next week because I'm going to Milwaukee, where we own a condo, and there's always that decision. We can stay in Marquette, we can return to Milwaukee. We're putting it on the real estate market as of Tuesday. As soon as we can come back up here, we will be here. I don't know if you realize how valuable the Peter White Library is. We lived in Wauwatosa for 30 years. It's an extremely nice suburb of Milwaukee. It has a very nice library that doesn't hold a candle to the Peter White. Every time I am in there, I cannot believe the charismatic personnel my husband's there tonight because there's probably 5 things going on. He just had to choose which one. So I was dismayed reading about this whole millage. I probably don't totally understand. I'm definitely willing to pay the millage. To me, it's worth every penny and more. And it seems to me if it's simply going through the township of Marquette, I fail to understand why there's any discussion over it. I mean, I realize we're in dire straits because of the dark stores, but it seems to me that the library millage is separate from that. I understand that there's been over 70% of the people for the millage voting for it. It goes through the township to the library, and I say keep it, nullify whatever you did. And again, listen to the people. And again, I heard the meeting tonight was about the Peter White, but I didn't hear much about it. And so I don't think it's well publicized. I'm sorry there aren't a lot of people. There should be a whole lot more people here in support of the library. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bates.
My name is Lynn Hammerstrom. You've seen me up here before when we've been discussing the library. I live at 33 Middle Island Point Road. I'm disappointed, dismayed, and angry at the action taken by this board to terminate the contract for the services of the Peter White Public Library. Your decision apparently has been based on your inaccurate perception that we Marquette Township property owners pay more than our fair share for library services. This is not true. It's not true, and we do not. If my property is valued at $100,000, I pay virtually the same tax as my friend in Chocolate or Sands Township who has a similarly valued property. 1 mil or less as rolled back by the Headley Amendment. And in fact, residents in all the townships pay less than 1 mil, while our friends in the city of Marquette pay a statutory rate 1.5 times that amount. And in addition, they currently pay a $500,000 to retire the bond issue that produced a national award-winning library. The tax that I pay, and I'm happy to pay, for library services is generated by a special discretionary millage voted for by township residents that does not count against the statutory millage that the township can otherwise levy for operating costs. That special designated millage does not belong to the township. The township must pass it through to the Peter White Public Library. By law, that money cannot be used for anything else. The taxpayers in our township have shown overwhelming support for the library millage in frequent elections over the last 23 years. We taxpayers are capable of making our own decisions about whether or not we wish to continue paying for and receiving library services. I'm asking you to continue the existing contract and to place a 1 mil proposal on the ballot, hopefully for more than 2 years. Please, let the township residents vote. Let the people speak.
Thank you, Ms. Hammerstrom.
I'm Carl Hammerstrom, spouse of Lynn. I live at 33 Middle Island Point Road in Marquette Township, and I've been a landowner and taxpayer in the township since 1973. I wish to speak concerning the library access for township residents, and I provided Clerk Ritari with a copy of what I am saying. Thank you for serving on the township board. It's not an easy task. However, you asked for the job. Some of you have been elected by us. You're here to serve the residents of the township. Clerk Ritari has informed you that at least 80% of our registered voters participate in library millage elections. The cancellation of the Peter White Public Library contract without informing us that you were going to discuss the issue has been a severe disappointment. The minutes of the January 6th meeting offer no explanation. Mr. Marks apparently provided you with written background information, but this information has not been available to the residents. I can only assume that he reiterated his previously published arguments. I refer you to my rebuttal, which is still in the township archives. It's from 2012, and I provided Mr. Ritari with a copy of that. The misinformation in the mining journal accounts of your action is astonishing, and a 3-minute limit for comment is inadequate to even enumerate them. The contract with Peter White Public Library, which Mr. Marks finds unacceptable and unreasonable, is in fact dictated by state statute. Any new contract you might seek will have by law an initial 3-year term and shall be automatically extended for an indefinite term. State Library Law 397.214. And it must be reviewed and approved by the Library of Michigan. Your complaint about lack of access to library user records was not a refusal by Peter White Public Library, but a matter of state and federal privacy laws. By terminating the existing contract, you've created tension with your citizens, perhaps endangered the goodwill of the trustees of Peter White Public Library, exposed our township and Peter White Public Library to unnecessary legal expense, and wasted everyone's valuable time. Your action has infuriated some and does not seem to be giving you any negotiating advantage. You demand a new contract. Well, what are your intentions? When will we be able to reverse your unnecessary action? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammerstrom.
Paul Marin, 274 Eagles Nest Road, Marquette Township. I have not often appeared at these township board meetings because I generally believe that the township board is doing a good job in managing my business as a member of this township. But tonight I need to be here. I'm glad to hear that we are on the agenda, the library is on the agenda for the next meeting, because then I won't have to mention tonight how nonsensical and short-sighted I think your decision to terminate the contract with Peter White Public Library is. As has been mentioned, I pay the same rate as someone whose home is assessed at the same value in Chocolate Township, West Branch Township, Sands Township, not Negaunee Township, as has been mentioned up here, because they're part of the Negaunee Library. Who are you rewarding by this decision? You are rewarding the dark stores who are laughing all the way to the bank. They are going to get out of paying millage for the library because of your decision. They're already getting out of paying their millage as civic members of this community, and now you have helped them further. What is the purpose of that? This is a representative democracy in this country, as I've always been told. As has been mentioned, 70% of the electorate of this township in all of the elections previously held to determine the millage rate for the library have supported the library, and yet with one fell stroke, you have acted against your constituents' wishes. That is not a representative democracy. This is pass-through costs. That's been said by several people here. This millage costs the township nothing. This is paid by the voters who approved it, who wanted it. And yet, you've nullified it. Represent your constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Hi, Ellen Sargent, 685 Erie Avenue, and I too want to thank you for serving. I've served alongside and with a lot of you, and I understand that you have the best interests of the township at heart. I also want to say that my son is a library employee. You all know that. I've had this conversation with several of you, and that Pam is my friend when she was the director, but before any of that was true, I voted for the library millage. And it's not because I don't want to buy a library card. I've never used my library card. I very seldom check material out, but I attend functions there. I went to the Antiques Roadshow appraisal. My Rotary Club helped sponsor the children's library. Without regional funding, we can't have this library. It's not just about whether or not this is the best deal for us. And I hope that you'll consider that. The library is not maybe what, when I went to high school and you went there to do your term papers. Libraries have changed, and they're actually filling a bigger role in people's lives for different things. And I understand from some of my conversations and some of the material that I received from John as a township resident, that the basis for this is that somehow we pay more because we generate more. I don't follow that. I understand that you sincerely believe that. I don't follow that line of reasoning. And I brought my tax bill with me tonight. And if that's true, and then I'm looking at some of the other countywide or, I don't know, like team participation that we pay to make the 49855 in Marquette County a better place. The MarkTran, the aging, the veterans, whatever we're assessed for that, if it's the Heritage Trail 0.2 mils, our 0.2 mils is going to be more than Republic's 0.2 mils. It's not that we're paying more. If we're generating it more, good, then we're having a bigger impact. And we're doing better, as we said, we're doing well, and we're contributing. It's not an individual sacrifice that's any greater than anyone else's. So I hope that you reconsider it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to attend the next meeting, and I hope you take that into consideration. If you feel this isn't good for the township, then make your case, but let us vote. Let us vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms.
Dave Wiggin, 350 Brookton Road. I gotta say, my understanding of the contract, the notice of cancellation that went out for the contract, simply opened it up so that it can be discussed, because there was no basis to discuss it prior to that. And if the millage was going to go on the ballot, then it had to go on at 1 mil. And there was no discussing a lesser mill or a greater mill for that matter. It had to go on as at the 1 mil. I applaud the board for making the decision to open it up so that we can at least discuss it. I have no doubt in my mind that the board wholeheartedly supports the library, and that there will be some discussion, but there will be some millage go back on the ballot in the fall to support the library at one rate or another. But I appreciate the fact that at least somebody's taking a look at it and making sure that we're doing what we should do. And it should go back to the residents to make a decision, and I'm sure it will. But I'd like to thank the board for making a decision to open it up for conversation.
Thanks, Mr. Wiggin. Anybody else wish to address the board? The next item on the agenda is board member comment. And typically in agendas, our agenda at least, the board member comment section is our time to address what you've said, the public has said. We use it also for other conversations and things that we want to share. I'm not going to make a statement tonight about the library contract, but I will tell you that there will be sometime, maybe hopefully this week, an editorial explaining a lot of our reasoning for doing what we did. The number one reason was to cancel a very old contract so that we could address it. That was it. It's not about not supporting the library by any means. There will be, I expect, a ballot question this year. We have one opportunity in August and we have another one in November. This is not about not supporting the library. So if you're going to continue to relay that to your friends, you are 100% wrong right now, and I will tell you that. And I hope you understand that. This is not about not supporting the library. So get that out of your mind. Our agendas go out. You've had your speak. Our agendas go out Thursday before the Tuesday meeting to everybody. We can't single out a group. We have to notice everybody the same way. It's everybody's responsibility to know what we're doing if they care. That's the law. So I will make a statement at the next meeting, and we will discuss it as a board. And I think that's all I'm going to say tonight. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we have business to conduct too. So, board members, anything you want to share? We're going to talk about our MTA trip in the forum discussion. Anybody? Yes, Greg Fratari.
Okay, I have some dates for the folks out there. The election, March 8th, is coming up fairly quick. February 8th at 5 o'clock will be the last day to register for the presidential primary, which is March 8th. And we now have packets available for folks that would like to run for township office. We have them here now. And if you're going to run as a partisan candidate, which is a Democrat or Republican, you have until April 19th at 4 o'clock to get your petitions in. If you're going to run as an independent, you have until July 21 at 4 o'clock to get your petition in. And I think that's about it. I did not attend the MTA conference. I was on a trip previous to that, so I couldn't take another week off for that. But I'm interested to hear what the rest have to say about their conference.
Anything, Pete?
We really have a real good winter going with not too many months ago, but I've been riding around looking at the hydrants, you know, and a lot of them have some snow on them. If we could probably, other residents in different areas have adopted a hydrant. So if you have a hydrant by your house, it'd be nice if you just go clean it out for it and help the fire department. Hopefully they'll never have to use that thing. But if you got one close to you, feel free to sort of adopt it and clean it up. All right, thank you.
Good idea. Thanks, Pete. John, got anything to share?
Not about the conference, I wasn't there.
Right. No, we're going to do that in the forum discussion. We can share briefly.
The only comment I would make, and as much as my name was mentioned, we'll discuss this at the next meeting, but I think it's important for people to understand that the agenda item that opened it up for a motion to be made explained one serious thing that I would hope you folks would walk away with. If we had delayed this till much later in the year, it would have reduced the time that the Peter White Public Library would have had to respond to our termination of the contract. Giving the Peter White Library as much time as we could give them, I think needs to be recognized as consideration on this board's part. And I'll just end with that. We'll be glad to discuss all of the issues at the next meeting. But that point needs to be made and understood, that 6 months before the end of the year would have given the Peter White Public Library about a month to come up with a counter proposal. So appreciate that as you look at and criticize the board. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Dan?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. Our forum discussion is number 8, and I wasn't looking for a report necessarily from the people that attended the conference, but just some key takeaways, just so the public and the rest of the board knows kind of what we were doing educationally. Anybody want to start? Steve?
Well, we went down there, we left Marquette on a Monday, took the bus down there, and we arrived Monday, late at Monday. There was 301 townships attended. Over 900 township officials attended. These are just some of the things that I marked down. There was 90 workshops, 106 expos. And this year the conference theme was R-E. Recharge, re-engage, rethink, reinvent, and rebuild. And basically after you spend time on the board and you go to all these different things and we work on different, sometimes you need a little, picker-upper. And that's what they were trying to say here. There are 6,650 township officials in Michigan. And there's 1,240 townships in Michigan. But that was just some of the things I was kind of astonished with. But Wednesday, we started off with a flag, with the presentation of the township flags. All the flags came in from different townships. We were greeted by President Linda Preston and Larry Merrill. They talked about recharging and stuff like that. The president come up with a little word, CRAP, crap. Means communications, relationships, accountability, be accountable, and people we serve. And for every hour, hour and a half, quarter, hour and a half, on Tuesday we had all day one I attended, and then the rest of them for the next couple of days were every hour, hour and a quarter we had a work session that we attended. And that went all day from 8:30 in the morning till 4:30, 5 o'clock. So we all took our different sessions that we attended, and it went from any aspects of the township, that you can think of. They discussed it. Dark store, had 2 sessions on that. They talked about your township. How is it growing? What are you doing about the changes from the baby boomers to what they had before? And it was a great inspiration to me. Plus, we had the opportunity to talk to the different people in the different townships, because we don't get a chance to do this. I was kind of interested to talk to this Bob Henshaw. He's from Oscoda Township. They found some money in a suitcase, and they had to wait. I figured how long he did. My first question to him, I said, "What'd you do with the money?" They found out that they kept it because nobody would claim $500,000 in a suitcase in the woods. And so the township got $250, and I said, how about a loan? I mean, we got some stuff going that we need money. But that's some of the stuff that you get the chance to talk to them, because you'll never talk to them. I call them up every now and then, and it's just the experience of getting out and talking about what we're doing, how we're doing it. And I can honestly say that the township's in pretty good shape. I've talked to a person down there, they had their meetings. Oh yeah, we have it at so-and-so's house, then we have it at the restaurant. I said, don't just give a notice? Oh no, we don't. Why? They're supposed to? You know, I said, like 18 hours? You know, but unbelievable. So we're doing pretty good. Even sometime we get, you know, not what you like sometime, but we're trying to do the best job for the township. And it was really rewarding to go there. I get a lot out of it, so I just want to thank the township for sending us down there.
Thanks, Pete. That was a good recap. Dan?
I would say that this is probably one of the better, well, probably one of the best ones that I've been through in all this time being on this board. I basically try to pick out one specific thing each time I go down, and this time I concentrated pretty much solely. I think 3 of my 7 that I went to were basically on special assessments, including Public Act 33 and other things. And I learned quite a bit. In fact, I learned enough to make me delve into this a little bit more to get more information. So I really felt that the classes I went to were very informative. We did have one class with the big box revisited, which is basically just an update of what's going on with the big box stores. But all in all, especially with my chance to meet with other officials, I think I also got a lot of questions answered and a lot of good ideas given to me. So I felt that this was probably, again, like I said, one of the best ones that I've been to.
Thanks, Dan. I started off my week there with a friend of ours, Susan Radwan, who helped us in the beginning with strategic planning and all of that avenue. That was pretty informative. There was another one on board policies that I thought was very something that it's been on my list of us. One of the things we need to look at, whether we want to go that route. We really don't have any written board policies. One lady who did a class on question and answer she talked about corporations and businesses instead of township, because the crowd kept saying, well, but it's not like that in the township. Well, you don't need to make a second for a motion, you just pass it, which is very much like the group that I ran into too, and they don't notice the public that they're having meetings. They just have them at somebody's house or the bar and conduct business that way, and I think, how does the public know anything? I did do 2 assessing classes because that's one of my responsibilities that I accepted when I did this this new job. I asked a lot of questions about the library down there and policies, and went to one for revitalizing meetings and reassessing yourself, which I thought was good. And I did 2 on the big boxes. I talked to the attorney who represented us in the beginning, and another one who represents us now for some other things. And I thought it was the best conference too in all that we've been to. I don't know if it's because I had more interaction. A woman stood up at one of the classes and was frustrated because they didn't know how they were going to pay for their roads. The road commission was abolished by their county board, and the county was not giving them any money for roads of any kind. And she said, we've got grass growing up between the cracks and I don't know what to do. So I explained to her what we did with our few millages that we've had, and she took my card and said, can I call you? And I said, absolutely, if we can help. It's stuff we've already been through. So that networking is a big part of it, and talking to people after the breakouts. It's very beneficial. I don't know, I guess I can still take the forum discussion and kind of tell you what I was doing in the last couple weeks too.
And I have an extra copy
Sure.
of everything up there.
Why don't we have it in the office?
It'll be
Or,
in the
yeah,
office.
we can leave it out here too.
I'll bring it and leave it in the office.
Okay.
It's also on the MTA's website, public website.
I had a meeting with Chamber Director, Jason Snyder, and we talked about regional transportation and the Board of Light and Power, and what that's going to look like and the impact it's going to have on us all, and a community calendar. So he's got some things he's working on as a chamber director that will affect us, and he asked our opinion. And then we have been having what I call chamber supervisor meetings. My predecessor kind of got that going, I think, a little bit with the mayor and Chocolate supervisor and himself as the township supervisor. And it's expanded a little bit where we each bring 2 board members and rotate them out. And there's no agenda, we just talk about whatever's going on. And we had a hard time. Jason was kind of trying to move it around to different settings to give communities, restaurants or something like that, give them the money that we would be spending. And I said, we need to just have it at your office. So the next meeting for any of you who join me will be at the chamber office on 3rd Street, because it's going to be much easier to talk that way. I also had my first meeting with the Downtown Development Association, or Authority, excuse me, who is talking about expanding our downtown area borders. So that's going to be a discussion that the board will end up hearing at some point, and where that's going to lead. They're in the process of doing that. And I spent, Randy and I spent half an hour or so on the radio last Friday talking about the library millage. I don't know how many people heard that. And as I said, I did submit today an op-ed to the Mining Journal. Been talking to Editor Sargent about that. So that may answer some questions too for the public. And then we had a Saturday meeting here last week talking about the capital improvement plan and how that goes forward. The Planning Commission actually takes charge of that, but we have to have something to present them, so we're trying to come up with a format that will work. We're also looking at Grand Rapids, possibly, their model. And actually, we got a card in the vendor session, the breakouts for the vendors. Dan and I ended up walking by the guy that we thought might be able to help us design something. So I have his card. Whether we'll do that, I'm not sure. We do need to kind of, I'm thinking, set up another meeting with Kirk, a work session of some kind, and finish our CIP. We kind of didn't get a chance to get through all of it in 2 hours. And there is a meeting tomorrow night, I believe here at 5:30, with the Marquette Citizens for Fair Share, I believe, which is the tax tribunal. One of the two. Share, I think, is the other one, or Right Stores, yeah. There's a couple of them, but the Fair Share group is meeting here tomorrow night at 5:30, so I'm hoping I can get to that too and stay in tune with them. So other than being gone last week, that's what I've been working on. I wanted to share with you. Do we want to do something then for, was Randy Kirk planning on finishing his presentation, or do you know?
Be at your pleasure whenever you'd like to do it.
Okay.
He'll be back from Lansing Thursday. He'll be back in the office Friday.
Okay.
He's doing continuing education this week.
Maybe if you could put it on your Post-it to have him think of what dates would be good for him, because since he's on a clock a little more than we are, and then we could try to talk about it at Tuesday's meeting.
We'll meet your schedule. You guys are tougher to match your schedules than we are.
More or less. Well, and
So-
like I said, we should have all the board next week too.
Yeah, if you want to set a time, just let us know and we'll be there.
Okay, we'll put that on the next agenda to finish that up. That's the 2nd. Okay. Into unfinished business then, unless anybody has anything else about the.
And I just want to state that since they've been having the meetings with the chamber and that, and with the different townships, and I think the spirit of cooperation is, I think we've gained a lot since then. I think they can open up and they can see our point, and not to say the other ones were wrong or not, but I mean, the spirit of cooperation is there. It seems like so much better than we had before.
It really is, Pete. Thanks for mentioning that, because that's one of the things that we have been saying for months, is that we are all one zip code, 49855, Chocolate, Beaver Grove, Marquette, the township, and we need to, and I've told the mayor that more than once, You have things that we don't have, and we have things that you don't have. And there's no reason we can't be sharing services and resources and talent and whatever it takes to make us all successful. That's been my mantra from the beginning. So thanks for mentioning that. Yes, Randy.
Just one comment, Lynn. We do have board policies, but they are very, very old. Very old. And
Dig them out and take a look at them.
yeah, and that was before Supervisor Limata left. That was kind of on our plates, was trying to do something with those. So maybe we can pick up on those.
Sure.
I'll have those for you, and you can look at them.
Great, that would be good. I know that we had talked about policy governance, and that was kind of part of it. Okay, good, thanks. So let's talk about 9A, 2016 Township Meeting Dates Adjustment. Third time's a charm?
Okay, we had some adjustments to the DDA time and dates, and I did check with the other folks to make sure everything was correct. So this is hopefully the last 2016 revised township meeting date schedule you will see. So I'll make a motion to.
Let me change. You got one change.
What's that?
Today's meeting is the 26th
Oh,
instead
yeah,
of
but
19th.
that's passed now, so we don't have to
Okay.
worry about
That's
that.
what I was gonna ask too. Do we need to fix it so that it's in the?
I'll fix it on the next, on the final copy, but I'll make a motion to approve the revised meeting
I'll
schedule.
second that.
Okay, motion and second. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that meeting passes. So do you have to bring it to us again?
Nope.
Okay. All right, then we have 9B, first Wednesday trash pickup. I can preempt that, but go ahead, Dan.
This is just in reference to the last board meeting when I brought up the possibility or my recommendation of moving the trash pickup back to where it was, the first Wednesday trash pickup back to where it was for, until such time that the property is sold. I know we did move it away from there, but I think the reason that we moved it away from there was supposedly the property was sold and we didn't want to mess it up any more than it was. So we did move it out, unfortunately out of our township. But since we are still waiting, since the property hasn't been sold, I don't see any reason why once a month we can't bring those two dumpsters and a garbage truck back into the township to make it easier for the residents to get to the point where they can drop their trash off once a month. It's only going to be one day a month. If people are worried about the fact that people might dump other garbage there, I think it's simple to block off those roads. I know that the argument is, well, if we by some stroke of luck happen to sell it in March, then we got to change back. Well, that's the way it is. I mean, I can understand that, but I mean, I just feel that starting next month we should move this back, unless something's changed since the last board meeting. I don't know, to that site. Like I said, again, it's once a month. It moves our employee from out of the township back into the township. It just is, to me, it's just a whole, much easier for the residents of this township to do. And if you want a motion, I'll make that motion, unless there's something that's changed that I don't know about.
One of the things I learned down there is that you don't have to have discussion first, you don't have to have a motion first. So it's kind of all up to us, but that would fall back to
How many
board member
people would be
policies.
there at that? One or two people at that Wednesday pickup?
Same as always, just one.
One?
The original reason that we opted not to move it back as a board, we said we didn't want to have that bouncing stuff. We didn't want to confuse people even more because we didn't know when the property would sell. So we figured once it was there, it would be better off to leave it there rather than to come back and go forward. Now, we do have Mr. Pelto as not yet listing broker who's asked to market the property, and he has a contract that's being looked at, but that's as far as we are right now. We haven't gone any farther. There are people who have been interested in the property. This board directed the manager at the time to basically, I don't want to say get as much as you can for the property, but we want to at least have, enough to cover its worth. So that's what he was charged with, is to do the best you can, because the purpose of selling that too is to put it back on this property, to pay this off. And that was the intent when we built this property, that we would have these assets to liquidate, to apply to the balance. So Randy, have you got any update or anything that you want to share before anybody motions or votes or?
Not really. Whatever the board decides is what we'll do. Well, the board decided to move it, so if the board decides to move it back, they'll move it back, and staff will cover it. If we, if we get to the point of selling the property, then we'll have to move it somewhere else. But whatever the board wishes to do is what we'll do. As it sits right now, the contract that you referred to has been submitted to the listing agent. He has sent it back with some requested changes that's being reviewed currently. We still do have two active individuals, two separate individuals interested in the entire parcel, which is one of the things the board directed me to do, is to sell it as a package, all three pieces. If the board chooses to break it up into individual pieces, we can market it very quickly. I have individual purchasers online for the individual parcels, but not for the land. The land is one that has some difficulties with it from the standpoint of its location and its layout, the way it is next to the park and off of US 41. But whatever the board wishes to do is what we'll do. I've been following the board's directive so far.
How big is that piece?
It's a 5-acre parcel. It's almost exactly 5 acres.
So if we chose to break that out and keep it, that changes the nature of the sale, because the whole property total would change.
Well, the board has sought to market the entire package. You didn't want to have two pieces sell and not have one and be stuck with it. You wanted to maximize what your return was. But if the board wishes to go in a different direction, we can certainly speed the process up, because there are purchasers for the individual parts. There is a party interested in the 5 acres. It's for a use that I don't know that the board would really want to put there, but that's up to the board.
That's what I was thinking too. So even if we left it as our community trash pickup, then you have somebody who's buying the property next door, or two people, however that works, and then they've got this empty lot next to them. And how attractive is that going to be? So I don't know if we'd want to even have that as an option.
I have a point of order, that we're running from one subject to another subject, and Danny's subject is on the floor for discussion, and then we ran into selling the thing. So we should sort of finalize what Danny brought up.
That's part of
Kind
the
of,
whole
yeah.
discussion, though, is what
Well,
we're
no,
going to do
really
with
it's
the
not.
parcel.
It's separate. What we're trying to do to sell it, but what's happening with our item that he brought up.
Oh, but that leads to the question of using it.
Well, we
So
could,
it's the debate the board's
we
having.
could decide tonight not to sell it. His motion would be appropriate.
If the board wishes to move in that direction, we could have the February 1st Wednesday? The first Wednesday in February could move. I mean, we have time to do that if that's the way the board wants to go.
It's up to us. I mean, if you want to wait till we have a full board, or if we want to make a decision tonight, we can do that. John?
I would remind the board, there's no motion on the floor. There's
No, he brought it up. Just
there's no motion on
Right.
the floor.
There's no motion on the
Do
floor.
not second
And
it.
so if,
No.
Okay.
and I think that we've all realized that someone on the board feels seriously about that this should be discussed and a decision made, and it should go to another meeting when they have a full board. I would say ending discussion on it for now would satisfy Trustee Pompo, but long as it is communicated that it will be brought up again and there'll be a decision. So there's no motion on the floor.
No,
Okay.
there's not.
So my my bad. I thought you had seconded it when you went like
No.
that. Okay.
I just want to figure out if we put a person there, circumstance has changed. We don't have the warehouse there for bathrooms, facilities, and breaks and stuff like that. So just try to come up with some kind of a plan regardless which way we go. Can he be relieved, or he has to, or? Because before we had the warehouse and the office right across the street, and now there wouldn't be nobody there, so he has to go to the bathroom or something like that if there's only one person there.
I don't think that's an issue. I mean, we can deal with that pretty easily.
If you're the one that got
Yeah,
to go.
but I mean, we can deal with that pretty easily.
All right,
Okay, well, we have a motion, okay,
no motion.
didn't finish the sentence. Go ahead, Dan.
I really didn't. My only, okay, I'm going to make the motion because I don't understand, I know we're drifting off the subject, but my only motion is to move the first Wednesday garbage drop-off back to the original site that it was at until such time that the property is sold and the money is in the hands of the township. That's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, motion fails.
It dies, it just doesn't fail. It
We
doesn't
can
happen.
discuss it next Monday,
Do we want to put it on the next agenda?
for the complete board.
Well, I can make a motion, we put this on the next agenda under unfinished business.
Okay. Support?
Okay.
No support? I'll support it.
I'll
I can do that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. New business, power plan renewal proposal.
This is an annual thing that the board deals with. This is our insurance package that we have through Power Plan. It covers general liability, our vehicle liability, workers' compensation. It's basically our entire liability and protective package. It includes your coverages for your official acts and bonds. It's all rolled into one package. You see two pieces of the premium. They are billed separately. They're billed separately because the workers' comp is an audited type of insurance. In other words, you pay upfront an estimated amount, and then at the end of the year, they audit you. We will be audited for 2015 here probably at this month, and then they will adjust the premium. If you have a good year, you get some of the premium back. If you have a bad year, you may have to pay a little more in, or you may break even if things are going as was expected. So what you have before you is you have a total package. We have not bid this coverage for a few years. I would propose that we bid this package for 2017 renewal to see if there are some other vendors out there that provide this material. Power Plan is the MPA's general liability plan. Michigan Municipal League has one as well. And our objective is to have equivalent coverage for less money if we can do it.
Do we need 3 proposals then from?
I don't think
providers?
you would get 3 for the whole package. To my knowledge, there are really only 2. There's the Power Plan and the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority plan as well, who has several of the other municipalities here locally as under coverage as well. There is a local agent for the competing package. Our current agent is out of the Houghton area.
John, did you have a question?
No, I have a motion.
Okay.
I move to concur with the recommendation of the township manager and accept the MTA Power Plan proposal.
Second.
Motion and a second. John, any comments?
No.
Pete, any comments?
No, we saved money from last year, and he does a great job, so I'm in favor of it.
Does the motion include going out for bids for 17, or is that something we don't want to do?
We'll just do it, that's the next time.
John, do you want to amend your motion?
I was only accepting the proposal that we had before us, and that was,
That was his recommendation, is that we go out for bids for 17.
that's right.
Okay, so that's part of your motion.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Pete, you're okay with that?
I'm also, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we need a motion to for him to go out and ask for bids.
No, that's
Just
part.
when he presents it
That's
next
part
year.
of his motion.
Right.
That we go out for bids.
Yeah.
The MML is a city municipal insurance for the most part, and they're the equivalent of townships. MML matches up with the Michigan Township Association, and I've got their bid. It's very comparable, and there were some surprises, I thought, from the PAR plan, last minute surprises, so I think it'll be good to go look at something else next year. So all in favor? Or John, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess the fact that we did that, and we got it at a short notice, and I understand why probably, but I didn't really get a chance to really take it that much closer look at the MML's proposal, but I guess my question is one cheaper than the other? They did send in, apparently, a quote.
No, MML basically asked if we would be willing or interested in having a quote, and they provided one without request. But what you have before you is the only actual quote that we have is the power plant quote, as for a renewal.
I believe I got an email with a quote from MML. Correct? From 18-page quote, I believe,
As a comparison?
as a comparison.
Yeah. What's not a quote?
That I don't know.
It's headed, Lynn, this is our proposal I left with Randy on or about December 21st, 2015.
Oh, that was a blind, yeah, that was a blind proposal that was dropped off. Marketing. That would be the group, basically, that we would be seeking a formal proposal from, however.
That would be the second one that he was talking about.
So then this really isn't a proposal that we
No.
got.
No.
That was not based on any actual numbers. That was an estimate predicated on prior year.
Mhm. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Consider Lions Field Recreation Area Security System.
I did submit a written recommendation to the board. What we're looking at here is as we continue to develop the recreational amenities around the township, we take on additional responsibility and liability for the investment that we make, as well as for the safety and security of the individuals using those facilities. We have basically two options to address that. One option is add staff, expand our presence at the locations, or utilize technology to accomplish that. And what I'm proposing at this point is to utilize technology at the Lions Field Recreation area that would transmit video feeds directly back here to the township, to our own servers, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Would consist of 4 cameras, 3 of them being fixed cameras that 2 would cover the ice rink and the new warming facility, 1 would cover the kiddie park, and the 4th one would be mounted such that it is a remote camera that has zoom and tilt pan capabilities that would cover the ball field and the rest of the amenities at that location. It is a one-time installation. What you have before you is the full cost of installing. And after that, it's pretty much a done deal, and would only be traditional maintenance that you have with any other IT system.
And the total is not to exceed $7,500.
Correct. The actual quote, and there's some flexibility there with the installation labor. The quote was for $72.84 and change. If we go not to exceed $7,500, that would be sufficient to give us a cushion.
And what account would this come out of, that you've got funds?
That would come out of the general fund under our community promotion line item.
John?
We've got a serious investment in Lions Field. We've had a lot of work put into making that a very comfortable place for people to be. we've had some problems with people who have not respected it, and I think we need to protect this good investment. So with that, I'll move to concur with the recommendation of the township manager regarding the Lions Field Recreation Area security system that's proposed, and it not to exceed $7,500.
Support. Oh, okay.
Motion and support. John, any other comments?
No further.
Whoever made your second.
No, I have no comments. I think it's a smart thing to do with their investment there.
So Randy, how do we, who's going to monitor this? Is somebody going to kind of flip through it?
Comes right here, just like the rest of our security camera systems. We have access to it by laptop as well as in the server room. So we link it right in our laptops.
So this is going to be reviewed every Monday morning, or?
You can all take a look at it at your leisure. All you have to do is key it up, and it'll be there. It's the system is on a 30-day loop, so it'll run continuously for 30 days. So you can rewind and forward through that entire 30-day process. If there's something you want to see, if you think something happened there, or if we have an indication that something might have happened, we can go back and look at it. So it's pretty secure. The cameras themselves are secured. They're mounted on the light poles up high, so they're not going to be easy to vandalize, and they're enclosed in a cabinet.
We had to get permission from
cabinet.
BLP? And we have the
yeah.
liability for that, though?
No, that's us. We have that. They knew we were installing them on their poles.
How long before we get them done?
Within a week. They're ready to order them.
Is this accessible on our own computers too, or would that be
Yes.
just in your?
No, you can do it on your laptop. It's a,
Whatever your
yeah,
code
you
is.
can all access it because it'll be on our server.
Any other questions for the manager? We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Discuss disposition of retired patrol vehicles.
This will be very short unless board members want to talk in more detail. We will be replacing in 2016 the current patrol car that we've provided for the Sheriff's Department. It's a 2014 Chevy Impala. What I am proposing to do with that is the same as we did last year, or several years ago with the Impala, the 2009 that we have now that we use for travel. Basically, it has saved us quite a large amount of money, even though we've had to do some repairs on it. Still, from the standpoint of not paying mileage for travel back and forth to Lansing, Detroit, wherever, it has more than paid for itself. The vehicles generally bring about $2,000 on trade-in. So what we did, we've already paid for the vehicles, so last time we simply retained it. And I would propose to the board that we do the same thing, probably in February of this year. It'll be coming to us, becoming available, that we would put it into service to replace the 2009 and sell the 2009.
So, okay, keep the 2013.
Keep
and
the
sell
2014, replace the 2009 with it, and sell the 2009. That's what I would be proposing, unless the board doesn't want us to do that.
Pleasure, board members?
I'll make a motion that we, what would it be? It would be disposition of the 2009 vehicle, and I don't think we're not doing it with the 2013, just to be 2009, right?
No, actually, this would be to replace the 2009 with the 2014 that's being retired from the
Okay,
Sheriff's
so
Department this year.
The motion will be to replace the 2009 with the 2013, 2014.
I'm sorry, 13, correct.
13 vehicle.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more comments?
So we'll sell the 2009 when the 2013 one is
Correct.
ours
We'll
then.
put it out on bids, like
Okay.
we have with the other vehicles that we've retired.
That's all.
Pete, anything?
No comment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Consider conditional rezoning request at 405 Brookton Road. This falls to planner and zoning administrator Jason McCarthy.
Good evening.
He will give you the lowdown.
The Planning and Zoning Department has received an application for rezoning. That was followed by a public hearing at the Planning Commission, which was approved unanimously, and that needs to be ratified by the board. For a little bit of background, Mr. Andy Beauchamp is here this evening with us, but essentially the business, JRJ Food Equipment at Brookton Road, Mr. Gilbert, I believe, is looking to retire a little bit more than he is. And Mr. Beauchamp and him had a long-term relationship as far as their businesses commingling and sharing a lot of the same services. As such, Mr. Gilbert is proposing to sell that business and property to Mr. Beauchamp and would continue to operate the same business there, along with merging his residential plumbing and heating business within that 11,500 square foot structure. There was some good deliberation at the Planning Commission level. They did do a good job, I believe, and Mr. Beauchamp did a good job of trying to assimilate his business into that rural residential zoning district, and there were some pretty restrictive components to the Planning Commission's approval of that. Some of the things you want to look at whenever you do conditional rezoning, of course, is noise, traffic, signage, lighting, things that would change the character of the neighborhood more so than if it were a residential structure. As it sits, it meets most zoning requirements, although it does not meet the front yard setback. So no encroachment or additions to the building could be made closer to the right-of-way without any approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals, but I don't think you could go very much further closer to the road on that building. So essentially, this conditional rezoning is can't say spot zoning because that's illegal in Michigan, but it's a provision in the ordinance and a state statute that if the board and the Planning Commission determine that a reasonable land use proposed for a specific piece of property fits harmoniously in the eyes of the Planning Commission and the Township Board, you may consider approving that. Excuse me. And so I've provided you with the proposed findings of fact, as well as Mr. Beauchamp's offer of conditions. So in the offer of conditions, there's a list of things that he states he shall and will do. And if it's approved by the board, then this gets recorded at the Register of Deeds and actually becomes part of the zoning ordinance. I suspect you've all read through it, and I would be happy to entertain any questions that you have. And Mr. Beauchamp is also here to entertain any questions that you have about his proposed business and use.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Pete had a question, Jason, I think you could address. I talked to him about, but go ahead.
When Gilbert's got it was zoned rural residential to development district, DD development, with a special use permit. Since the zoning ordinance was all updated, do they still follow the same requirements with the new updated ordinances?
Yes, because it's a new potential owner, they will go back to, we went back to square one, pretending that that business and that property was zoned rural residential. And in order for Mr. Beauchamp to do and conduct the business that he wants to conduct, he was recommended to go through the entire process that Mr. Gilbert did back in 2009.
And I was on the Planning Commission at that time, and that was something very important to us. We wanted to make sure that once that property turned over, that whatever conditions we had with Mr. Gilbert didn't just continue, that it was going to be brought again in front of the commission, and it was going to be vetted just as if it were brand new, so that somebody couldn't end up changing the use without us knowing it, too, and depending on what they were going to use it for. So that was the condition of doing that with that property, was making sure that it would have to be vetted each time.
I just looked at I went over there and looked at it, you see it so many times, but you don't see it, And looking at the houses on the side, houses in the back, and it's just the best fix for that. And so I just want to make sure that we follow all the ordinances, the new ones that we just went through. and they'll answer all the questions. So.
Right, and I appreciate that. None of essentially the amendments that have been made since I began in 2011 would affect the outcome of this decision. We did talk about, there's a couple trailers that need to be removed from the property. The storage of outdoor equipment. Let's say he pulls an old commercial oven out of somewhere. He's not going to be able to store that outside out back. He's going to have to keep that inside or within a closed area in the back. We sent out the notifications to all property owners within 300 feet, whether they were the existing residents or whether it was a resident living there and an owner from afar. We received 0 adverse comments to the proposed. And that's a requirement by state statute that whenever you have a rezoning or a public hearing, you have to notify neighbors. So we were diligent with that. I did go back through the old file from 2009 and researched the issues that were brought up then and tried to work with Mr. Beauchamp to address those issues as he moved in or as proposing to move his business in. There's going to be a few more employees, but there's adequate parking. The structure itself has been renovated extensively over the years via Mr. Gilbert's efforts, and I think that if you were to look up online about Beauchamp Plumbing and Heating, or if you've heard anything about them, they are a stand-up business. You have a young entrepreneurial business owner. Those are all things that are positive for the town.
Beauchamp runs a very good operation. I've known out in Gwynn. I've seen behind the building because I used to stop there when I worked for Swick. We used to pick up stuff, and and they run a very good operation. So, I just kind of curious. Are you going to move from Gwynn to Marquette? All right. Like I say, I parked in the back, picked up stuff out there, and it's not cluttered all over. So they do run a very good business.
Yeah,
Attorney Zappa would
Attorney
like
Zappa,
to comment.
Some of the things that we talked about, his business is going to be open from 8:30 to, or 8 to 5, banker's hours, no weekends, lights will be, well, not banker's hours, from the business side of it. 24-hour service will not be provided from that location, so you don't have to worry about traffic later in the evening. They will have 1 or 2 trucks probably dropping off stuff a week, but there are, UPS trucks and FedEx trucks that service that area. So, sorry, Attorney Zappa, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out, because conditional rezoning is not something that comes up very often. This was conditionally rezoned when Mr. Gilbert bought the property before, and it even then was a non-conforming use in a rural residential zone. So there were limited uses that could be available. You are not rezoning this as a development district property per se, and yet you are. You're doing it with conditions and restrictions. So there's a lot more protection for the property owners and the neighbors and the township as well. For example, the conditions that Mr. Beauchamp has prepared and agreed to voluntarily restrict the nature of the business and the hours and so forth, so that if you wanted to put a gas station in, for example, if this was just rezoned to developmental district, DD, then he could do that, perhaps with a special use permit, but it would be, there are many uses of right if this was a straight rezoning to DD. That's not what he's proposing. What he's proposing is some very modest revisions to the nature of what's already been going on. So it's, the conditions are that it can only be used for restaurant equipment sales and for residential plumbing and heating, and even beyond that, Mr. Beauchamp has included restrictions that limit the type of signage that would be utilized in comparison to a straight DD zoning, the hours of operation, so forth. So there are, that's the beauty of having this under the Zoning Enabling Act. It provides a business an opportunity to move forward, but by the same token, it does help protect the neighbors, which is still a primarily residential district, by imposing these conditions on it. So there isn't too much of a downside to the township on this. It's a fairly innovative procedure that just came into being now about 10 years ago, but it was unknown until an amendment to the zoning enabling statute a number of years ago.
Well, and like I said, when this came up before us a few years ago, at the time, the Moose Lodge was just in total disrepair. And Mr. Gilbert came in and suggested that we do this, and he was all ready to fix it up. So it really wasn't probably the best site, I don't know, for a home or something else, but being residential, we were kind of limited too as to what could go in there. And he just kind of reworked it, and it's pleasant to walk by, and it blends in. He's not noisy and carrying on. Mr. Beauchamp's going to do the same thing. So, John.
I think the history of this location and how it has been transformed through the good work of the Planning Commission and whatnot through the years has made it something that the neighbors, I think, have accepted. And it's a unique piece of property in the midst of residential, but it is not something that should be looked at like this is a bad use of this property. It's something that's in the law that's allowing us to proceed and even enhance the property at no risk to the residential owners nearby. At least no risk that's not covered by the conditions. So I think it's a good spirited way to handle it. I think we've got good people in the past and now offering to take care of it. It was a shack early on that has been transformed through good spirited work of both the Planning Commission and the other people involved. And now we've got something that's going to even improve it more. So I applaud the actions that have been taken and what is proposed, and I encourage the adoption of concurring with the recommendation.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to do that, yes.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have second. Anything else?
That's it.
Randy?
I have nothing.
It's a good repurpose, I think, for an old building. That's my only comment. Anybody else? Dan, you have any comments? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Now you don't have to work after 5.
Banker's hours.
Congratulations, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider 2015 Recreation Passport Grant Project Agreement Resolution.
Yep, we received a passport grant for construction of the barrier-free pathway for this year, 2015, and we are requesting that the Township Board approve the attached resolution so that we can recoup funds as we spend them, because this is a reimbursement grant. This grant received the 4th highest score in the state of Michigan. And as you read through the project agreement, you'll realize that we have until March 31st of 2018 to complete this project. So, we've discussed these grant awards before. The grant we received in 2014, we're going to complete this year in 16. And some of these other grants, as we are able to accept them, we do have some flexibility as to when they can get done. We can parlay these until subsequent years, and I think that'll help us in our budgeting efforts. But we hope that you will accept this project agreement to move forward with this. Once we have the project agreement back to us, stamped and sealed, we will have until 2018 to complete that project. Staff and the Recreation Committee, we vow to continue to seek out other local grant funds to help offset the cost of this. Thus far, we've received $5,500 in grants to offset the cost of this particular grant. We hope to whittle that down more.
So this is some taxing my memory in the boards, because we just had a presentation from you at least 2 meetings ago, I think, and Mr. Springer, talking about the grants that we have in place.
Yep.
And
So
what
this
we've
is-
gone for. This is the 55,000 that we have to
Match.
come
No, I
up
don't
with
have
the
the
funds.
specific numbers with me, but I don't believe it's that much. I
Or is
think
this
it's
the second one?
19,000 that, actually, it's 19,000 minus.
Okay, okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
It's the second one, okay. Because we've already taken action on that first one. Okay, any questions for Dan?
This is basically, you're reimbursed as you do it. You don't have to wait till the project is done, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I'm making sure.
We just have to submit the receipts. John, did you have something?
Yeah, when we discussed this earlier, it was the treasurer's concern that where's the money coming from? The point is that they've been able to arrive at the year 2018 before it has to be done. So the fact that you can put it off, that we don't need to come up with this money tomorrow. But the last thing we want to do, I think, is to have received a grant that we've applied for, saying that we would match it, and then not do it. I mean, that would give us a nice reputation with the people that give these grants, a nice reputation that we don't want. So I think that the fact that we can put it off till 2018 makes it palatable right now and acceptable.
Is that a motion, John?
No, I've made too many. Pete's making the motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Support.
Okay. Any comments, Pete?
None.
Okay, John, anything else?
No, thank you.
Anybody? Dan?
No.
Andy? Okay, no, I agree too. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a
All
roll
opposed?
call. It's a roll
Oh, that's
call.
right, so, yes, thank you.
The motion maker is trustee LaRue.
Aye.
Second is trustee Marks.
Correct.
Trustee Pompo.
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries 5 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
I believe the rec committee did report to you tonight that we would not be applying for grants in 17.
Right.
You did.
Okay. Keep all of our ducks in a row here before we get too successful with these grants. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Need to get successful with our matches.
Discussion of managers' suggested 2016 goals and objectives. Manager
Actually,
Gerard
it's
gave us-
actually it's before the board for discussion and consideration. I spent a fair amount of time talking with a couple of board members about what goals and objectives might be, and we have several projects that are ongoing. So it's a little bit difficult. So I'm suggesting 2. Now, granted, board members that went to the MTA conference, you talked with a lot of people and heard a lot of things down there, and you may have some ideas for goals and objectives that you would like to see the township address. The 2 that I'm proposing, I think, are 2 that are fairly critical. In addition to those that are already ongoing, the continuation of the water project is ongoing, the continuation of the local roads rehab project is ongoing, the continuation of Lions Field is an ongoing. Those are all multi-year projects that are in the hopper that are still being worked on. But we've got some needs. One is the discussion that we've been having with regard to the expansion of the DDA boundaries. That in and of itself is about a 6-month process just to get that amendment going. To do that, that's something we need to do during 2016 to get that on track to get going. So I've suggested that as one of the goals and objectives. And the other is trying to come to a situation where we can somehow control some of the drainage issues that we have in Trowbridge Park. It is probably the worst location for drainage issues. There is no storm drain. There's an ineffective ditching system. There have been a number of driveways installed that did not put culverts in. There are springs all over the place, creeks all over the place, and it's just we have some very, very difficult situations with some of the residential placements of homes where they should not have been built, basically. Springtime is terrible. Whenever we have heavy rains, it's flooding all over the place. So what I'm proposing is that working with the Road Commission and the Drain Commissioner during 2016 to design some kind of a drainage control plan to put into place in Trowbridge to resolve at least some of these issues going forward. So that's my rationale for what I submitted to the board, and certainly it's open for whatever direction the board wants to go in terms of setting goals and objectives. And it may change as you get into your strategic planning session as well.
I think when we had the road project, then we extended it and fixed up the roads and the curbs on the side and that curbed the road, controlling the water. But in some instance on the low part of the hills, we got a lot of water that's not going anywhere. A good example is on Orchard. I took pictures of that and just
standing water.
We have to find to get that water off the road. We took care of all the people on top of the hill and coming down the hill, took care of all their complaints, but then it's pooling up on the bottom, so we have to find a way, like Randy said, and their house is down there too, so we have to find a way of moving that water out of there. So
We literally have one location that Dave and I have been struggling with, the home, and it's a relatively new home, it's not that old, is literally at the bottom of a saddle. The road saddles down. The house behind it is elevated, the house in front of it's elevated, and the house on both sides are elevated. So there's nowhere for the water to go, except in their garage and basement. Yeah, so we have a number of those situations around the township that we've not been able to address, and they've been problems for all 14 years that I've been here. People have complained about flooding and drainage and new houses going in, changing the traditional flow, and a variety of things. So I think we need to have a design or a plan, basically, to address the water in the township. It involves a drain commissioner and it involves a road commission.
Pardon me?
Go ahead, John.
Wouldn't this plan that you're talking about also serve another purpose? I think unexpected to purchasers of property where they're contemplating putting in a home. I think it would be wise for us to be able to say, well, this is what it's like for now, and we haven't been able, or we are not able at this point to address it. At least notify them that the township is alerting them that it may be at the bottom of the hill, and I think that's a fair thing to do for residents. So I think the plan would serve that purpose as well.
Well, it would do several things. One is to remediate existing problems, and as you say, the other would be to be able to identify certain areas of the township where, if it's looking to be developed, we know this is an issue you need to address somehow in your plan design, how to accommodate this.
So, how big of a project is that? Is that the drain commissioners comes out and gives us an idea of what needs to be done, and then we're
Well, we would have to do a
it, or-
survey. We would have to do a survey of all of the areas to determine just what is possible between the drain commissioner and his statutes, the road commission and their statutes, and their right-of-way authorities versus their drain authorities. We do have 2 established drains within the township, the Badger Creek being the biggest as a drain. The drain commissioner controls the containment, the large containment areas, such as what we have over here behind the gas station at the corner of Werner and Commerce. So we would have to be working with the drain commissioner, and the road commission is the one that owns the right-of-ways of the road where the ditching would take place. And it may be something that we may have to seek some funding from some source to install some culverts where individuals have improperly constructed a driveway to stop the natural water flow or to divert the natural water flow. We do have some development in several areas of the township where they have filled areas that were traditionally low that changed the flow of the water and is now impacting neighbors. We have several of those areas, but
So the drain commissioner would be an advisor working with the road commission who owns the roads.
the drain commissioner may also be access to some funding mechanisms and some other state and federal resources that the road commission wouldn't be available to.
they're dealing with water.
So then we would conduct this, we would pay for the survey of whatever areas that we mutually agree would.
Maybe, maybe not. They may, because it is a right-of-way and a water flow issue, but we're the governing body. So, you know, the issue is to try and do that, and selfishly, to preserve the roads that we're fixing. You know,
It's not
straight
selfish,
ahead.
that's
I
good-
mean, you know,
good practice.
a lot of the roads that we're fixing are surface repairs. We're not ditching, we're not putting storm water, we don't have a stormwater collection system. Superintendent Page is working in that direction, but that's years away. This is something I think we need to do relatively immediately. A very good example is just right across Moran Street last year. That road was almost impassable with ice dams from the spring coming out of the hill. There was no way to control that water, nowhere to move it. So it ended up pooling at the corner of Moran and Vandenboom. It created a very serious hazard.
Well, the question is the manager's goals and objectives. Does anybody have anything they want to recommend?
I think if we get that done, that'd be good.
This year we'll finish Lions Field, hopefully. We'll finish Lions Field this year. Get that project taken care of. That was designed to be a 2 to 3 year project. This is year 3. We have this year and next year on the roads project, and then that'll be completed. So we'll be back on track at that point. I hope we will be moving some point this year on the whether or not we're going to move forward with the second phase of the water project, depending upon what the Catholic Credit Union does with their property ultimately, and they've so far not made a decision on that.
Yeah, I asked you this afternoon whether that should, you know, stay on or be part of, or.
That's one of the active projects.
It's not in our court now, really. We have to wait for them.
But if they do make the decision that they're prepared to go forward with the agreement that we've proposed, then we go into high gear. That's a year's process to get the permits in place and get the design work done to be ready to construct in 2017. If the board decides to go in that direction.
Any comments, suggestions? Do we need a motion probably to at least approve these? They can change.
Well, the board has a couple of options. One is to take these under consideration pending other things the board members may. 2 board members aren't here, so you don't have that input. You know, consideration of things that you've heard at the MTA conference that you might want to stir into this, or to, once you get into your strategic planning, to come up with additional ideas or other ideas. It's what's important to you. I see these as 2 fairly important, if not critical, elements to continuing development in the township, and that's why I proposed them. But that's my view.
Pleasure?
Put it on for next week.
Put it off till we have a full board? Okay, that's fine. We'll add it to the next agenda. Somebody else may have something else to add. Manager's report.
Pretty straightforward. The only thing that I want to add to it is that just a notice that the auditors, Gaybridge, the auditors are going to be in this week. Wednesday, we expect them in place. They'll be here through the rest of the week doing their preliminary work on the 2015 audit. We are not anticipating any issues with the audit. We've had clean audits for the last 14 years, and I expect that will be the same this year. As you'll recall, last year was the first year under the new GASB regulations, where we have to identify future liabilities for retirement and things such as that. So you will see that continue this year. It was first noted last year. We have made progress on that. It should be a smaller amount this year, so we're going in the right direction with the legacy costs, as are typically referred to in the media. But just a heads up for you, they will be here in the office utilizing the small conference room, primarily working with our accountant, doing pulling files and pulling records and doing beginning their audit. So if you see a strange face around the office, that's who it is.
And you talked about the ice rink a little bit. And the
Ice rink is up and running. We actually, unfortunately, yesterday we ran the Zamboni and did the ice the first time with the Zamboni, and then today we have this that basically ruined the surface. But at any event, we'll be back out there again tomorrow to clean this off and get some more layers of ice down. It's been fairly heavily used. The warming building is open, and I'm sure has been a welcome amenity to the area. I was in there several times over the weekend, and so far the users are treating it with respect. A little bit of trash left laying around, but that's minor. We've just picked that up and threw it in the trash can. Pretty good use. I think the folks that I spoke with that were there were pretty pleased with it, and it's having the effect. At least, well, about a third of the people that I talked to were just reintroducing themselves to skating after a fairly lengthy hiatus. I'm one of them.
And the signs are up?
Signs are up. They've been up. The Zamboni is in the garage. It's a very, very tight fit in there, and we are engaged in conversation with the school district about possibly accepting their offer of the use of the garage across the street, at least for this season, until we can get our arms better wrapped around managing the ice rink. Fencing is up, thanks to our two construction engineers in the audience, Mike and Dave, basically. So the fencing is fully up, and everything's in place and functioning well.
Any comments on the road commission follow-up?
Not real hopeful. Jim was being very guarded. Basically, when I spoke with him again, he indicated that it is not something that's been taken up by the commission, by his board, in terms of what their intentions are with those additional funds. Not hopeful that much of it would be coming back to us, but if we had specific projects we wanted to talk to him about, and one of them may be drainage control, that might be a good use for some of that extra 10% that they have. But at this point, the road commission is non-committal in terms of their plan.
Corridor, that's about it. Nothing on ZBA. Any questions for the manager?
I don't have any.
Nope.
I got one.
Sure.
Randy, do we know who drove I meant to ask Dave earlier about, it must be a larger vehicle going over the telephone poles on the north side. Did they go all the way through?
Yeah, straight through the old Erie route. We will.
Here's where the cameras will really help us.
This is where the cameras will help, and particularly on that side of the building. That's where the pan and tilt that's motion activated will pick that up, and we'll have it on film.
So somebody drove over a barrier?
It's fairly continuous. They either knock the barriers down, move the barriers, or drive over them.
Well, there's a telephone log right in front. Then you went right over it, so it had to be a four-wheeler. What I seen anyway. Is that correct, Dave? Okay. You should probably bring your trailer over there and stay over there.
Okay, and you've got corridor advisory group minutes there to see what's going on in the county.
And also the rules, the ice rink rules are attached for board members. Those are the rules the board acted on previously. They are posted at the ice rink, on the rink itself, in the warming hut, on the warming hut. It's on the website. It's on our Facebook page, so they should be well known.
Okay. Then we're back up to public comment. Anybody else would like to address the board?
Just real quick to add on to Manager Gerard's comments about the ice rink over there, is we need to send out a thanks to the Royals hockey team, who helped us string that fence up on the sides. There's a couple pretty heavy lifts there to get that strung up, and that's the same, I think they had 6 guys come over there for 2 days, and that's the same group of hockey players that come over and help us set up the boards initially when we first got them delivered. So I'd like to send out a thanks to those guys.
Yeah, they also helped with the kiddie park equipment as well.
Yes, they did. They helped spread the. They've been working over there quite a bit. They helped spread the wood chips for the kiddie park.
What can we do for them besides just send them a thank you letter? Anything?
It's part of their part of the team criteria is that they take part in community activities. This is pretty much all orchestrated by the manager for the team. But the guys show up there. They do what you ask them to do, and they're hard working. And the last 2 days that Mike and I were out there putting the fence up, it was cold, and they stuck right with it. So
How old
I would
are
suggest
these
we
kids?
could do a nice resolution for them and have
17
them
to
come
19.
in.
Resolution?
maybe have them come to the meeting on February 2nd might be a little quick for them, but maybe the second meeting in February, have them come in and be recognized with a resolution.
Be good.
Who do you contact to get help, David?
I contact Dean McAuliffe. He's the team manager. I don't know if he's the manager as his actual title or not, but he's works with the team, and he's the guy I go through to get the guys. And he's always after me to find something for these guys to do because they got to be out doing stuff in the community.
You'd be the one to know, you and Mike, at least. Yeah, why don't we at least do a resolution and present it to
Invite
them?
them to come in on the second meeting is,
That would work.
the 16th? Yeah, 16th of February.
Good.
If they're not out there playing hockey.
Well, we'll meet them out there then.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to address the board? Okay. Additional comments from board members? Anything? Yes, Randy.
Just for the residents that watch this on the YouTube and this Thursday on Charter, our next meeting will be a week from tonight. This meeting is actually a week later than it was because of the MTA conference. So our next meeting will be February 2nd at 7 o'clock here. And let's see, I had something else, but it escaped me. I think that's it right now.
Okay. Anybody else? Dan?
Two things. I'm not sure. Did we approve the bills?
Yes, we did, in the consent.
Okay.
Consent.
The only question I got is that usually Lois gives us a description, usually after the bills payable, of where the money went. And there wasn't one in here this time, so I was just curious if we could get that.
Not the cover page you're talking about?
No, she always gives us a write-up of any money that goes in and out that's extraordinary above and beyond what we usually do, and so that's what I was curious. The only reason is I noticed it was $191,000 payment for the fire hall and the township hall, and I just was curious what it's both payment and interest, what the breakout of that was, and how much was for the township, how much was for the fire hall.
80,000 was the fire hall, and the remainder was township.
Pardon me?
80,000 was the fire hall, and the remainder was township hall. Out of that.
Didn't the fire department, correct me if I'm wrong, but allocate more money from the leftover money for their payment, added payment into their part of the loan?
You'll see that on the next report. That's after year end.
Okay.
Is the 80 is the normal payment?
Correct. 80 is the regularly scheduled payment. The excess will show on your next report.
Okay. How much of that interest is that also?
Well, actually, the fire department pays a flat 80,000, and then we pick up the rest of the payment plus the interest out of general fund.
Okay. And lastly, since we are going to be going into closed session, I'd like to ask that due to possible or perceived conflict of interest, that I be excused from any deliberation, discussion, or decisions concerning the Sims versus Charter Township of Marquette litigation.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks.
Dan's an abstention on that. I did remember what I was going to say. Since we only have a week before meetings, chances are in the next agenda, I won't have these sets of minutes done. I do have 8 business days to get these done, so I will try to get them done, but if not, they'll be done for the following meeting.
And you will likely have a very narrow packet, since it has to be completed by Thursday.
Small window. Even then, putting this together was tough with being gone a week. Any other comments? Yes, Pete.
I just want to make a comment. We talked about grants and stuff like that, and now they voted not to pursue next year just because we need grant money and matching funds and that. But one thing that's gone, I know we thank Dave and Mike all the time, but, if we had to pay for their services, it would be tremendous. And I don't know if they get the credit that's due to them, because every project, they're up there. But he has to get someone else younger, because he's gonna stop working like that, and we need someone else to take his place, because we can't afford all the things that he does.
Are you volunteering?
No, I'm older than he is. But I just think sometimes we sort of, thanks Dave and Mike for, all this thing, but, Dave does all the planning and stuff like that, and he gets it done. And we really should, really appreciate that.
Suggesting a retirement?
No, I think he is, but we have to bring him up a little bit so he's not done. You gotta make sure he knows that we
Why
appreciate
are we
it.
stopping the grants?
No.
Keep them working,
No, we really
Practice.
appreciate it, David and Mike. Thank you very much. Just get it finished.
Anybody else? All right. I need a motion to go into closed session.
I move to enter into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268E to consult with attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation, but only if the open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the public body. The litigation is Sims versus Charter Township of Marquette.
Second.
And roll call?
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Marks?
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
That motion carries. 4 yes, 2 no, and 3 absent. 0
Two
no's.
absent and one abstention.
Actually, Dan's considered absent for that, yes.
Okay. Okay, that passes.
It did.
Just curious.